It was a quiet evening, the kind where you could hear crickets chirping and feel the cool breeze brushing against your skin. The stars above twinkled like tiny diamonds scattered across a dark velvet canvas. Somewhere in space, far beyond what human eyes could see, an alien scout ship floated silently just outside Earth's atmosphere. Its sleek metallic surface shimmered faintly under the dim light of distant suns. Inside, the crew bustled around their stations, checking readings and exchanging nervous glances. The aliens weren't exactly thrilled to be here. Their mission was simple: scan Earth for signs of intelligent life and assess whether this little blue planet posed any threat. They had done this hundreds of times before on other worlds. Usually it ended with them shrugging and moving on. After all, most planets were either barren wastelands or home to primitive species still struggling to figure out fire. But something about Earth felt different. Captain Zorvac, one of the crew members, called out hesitantly. His voice trembled slightly as he pointed at a screen filled with strange data patterns. These energy signatures, they're unusual. Captain Zorvac turned sharply, his elongated head tilting curiously as he studied the screen. His large black eyes narrowed, scanning the information displayed before him. He tapped a few buttons, zooming in on specific sections of the scan. "Unusual how?" he asked, his tone sharp but controlled. "Well," the crew member fumbled with his words, clearly uncomfortable delivering bad news. "They're not natural. It's almost as if someone, or something, is masking them intentionally. And look at these structures detected near the poles. They shouldn't exist based on their current level of technology." Zorvac leaned back, crossing his spindly arms over his chest. For a moment there was silence in the room. Then he sighed heavily, rubbing the smooth exoskeleton of his forehead with two clawed fingers. This wasn't supposed to happen. Earth was supposed to be easy, a quick check-in, maybe some resource scouting, and then back to base. Instead, things were getting complicated. Meanwhile, down on Earth, no one had any idea that their world was being watched so closely. People went about their usual routines, completely unaware of the extraterrestrial visitors lurking just beyond their skies. In bustling cities, neon lights flickered brightly against towering buildings while cars honked impatiently in traffic jams. Out in the countryside, farmers worked late into the night tending to crops under the glow of lanterns. Life continued as normal because, honestly, why would anyone think twice? Humans had been staring at the stars for centuries without ever finding proof of alien life. Why should tonight be any different? But then at precisely 9:47 p.m. local time, everything changed. Across the globe, people stopped whatever they were doing and looked up. At first, it seemed like nothing more than a trick of the light, a faint shimmering effect rippling through the sky. Some dismissed it as heat waves rising from the ground after a particularly warm day. Others thought it might be northern lights creeping further south than usual. But when the shimmer grew stronger, spreading outward until it covered entire sections of the horizon, even skeptics began to wonder if something extraordinary was happening. In New York City, tourists gathered along Times Square, pointing excitedly at the glowing heavens above. Street performers paused mid-act, gawking upward alongside their audiences. Over in Tokyo, office workers spilled out onto balconies, snapping photos with their phones. Even deep in remote villages untouched by modern technology, villagers stepped outside their homes, whispering prayers to gods long forgotten. And then came the moment nobody expected. With a deafening roar that shook the very foundations of the planet, the sky split open. Not literally, of course, that would defy physics, but the effect was close enough to leave witnesses breathless. Massive shapes emerged from thin air, materializing slowly, as though stepping through a curtain of liquid glass. People gasped, collectively, as the enormity of what they were seeing sank in. Hovering miles above the surface of the Earth were starships unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. Sleek, angular designs stretched hundreds of kilometers long, bristling with weapons platforms and glowing with power sources far beyond human comprehension. Each vessel radiated authority, demanding respect simply by existing. There must have been hundreds of them, arranged in perfect formation, casting eerie shadows over cities below. For a full minute, nobody moved. No one spoke. The sheer scale of the event left everyone paralyzed with shock. Was this real? Had humanity finally made contact with extraterrestrial beings? Or was this some elaborate hoax cooked up by Hollywood producers looking to cash in on fear? Back aboard the alien scout ship, chaos erupted. Alarms blared loudly throughout the corridors, drowning out panicked shouts as crew members scrambled to make sense of what was happening. Captain Zorvak stood frozen, his mandibles twitching uncontrollably as he stared at the monitors showing live feeds of Earth's new arrivals. His mind raced, trying desperately to process the impossible. "This can't be right," shouted another crew member, slamming his fists against his console. "Our scans showed nothing, absolutely nothing." Zorvak didn't respond immediately. He couldn't. All those years of training, all those missions spent evaluating lesser civilizations, it meant nothing now. Because whoever these newcomers were, they had somehow managed to hide an entire fleet within Earth's atmosphere undetected. That kind of technological prowess was unheard of, even among advanced races. "Send a distress signal," Zorvak finally ordered, his voice barely audible over the din. "Tell command we've encountered a hostile force. Request immediate reinforcements." As orders filtered down the chain of command, the crew sprang into action, frantically transmitting messages back to their homeworld. Meanwhile, Zorvak turned his attention back to the screens, watching helplessly as Earth's mysterious defenders took position high above major cities. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain: humanity had just entered a game much bigger than itself, and the stakes were higher than anyone could have anticipated. Down on Earth, confusion quickly gave way to panic. Social media exploded with theories ranging from government conspiracies to divine intervention. News anchors struggled to keep up with the flood of information pouring in from every corner of the globe. Governments scrambled to issue statements, urging calm while secretly activating emergency protocols designed for scenarios exactly like this one. Yet amidst the pandemonium, one man remained eerily composed. Dr. Elias Carter sat alone in his private observatory nestled deep within the Colorado mountains. Unlike others glued to their TVs or smartphones, Carter didn't need updates. He already knew what was happening because he'd helped orchestrate it. Years earlier, Carter had stumbled upon evidence of extraterrestrial activity while analyzing radio signals captured by powerful telescopes. Rather than alerting authorities or publishing his findings, he took them directly to the Arcane Council, a secretive organization comprising some of the wealthiest and most influential individuals on the planet. Together, they devised a plan to prepare humanity for the inevitable day when aliens decided to pay a visit. Using cutting-edge quantum engineering and cloaking technology, they constructed an entire armada of starships capable of rivaling anything the universe could throw at them. These ships were hidden within Earth's ionosphere, invisible to both radar and the naked eye, waiting patiently for the moment they'd be needed. And thanks to Carter's algorithms detecting hostile intent, that moment had finally arrived. As the initial shock wore off, questions began swirling in people's minds. Who owned these ships? Where did they come from? And perhaps most importantly, what did they want? Speculation ran rampant, but answers remained elusive. All anyone knew for sure was that the balance of power had shifted overnight, and the future suddenly looked very uncertain indeed. In the days that followed, Earth braced itself for the unknown. Military forces mobilized, ready to defend their territories at a moment's notice. Scientists worked tirelessly to analyze the alien presence, hoping to glean insights into their origins and intentions. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens clung to hope, praying that peace would prevail despite mounting tensions. Little did they know, however, that the real drama was only just beginning. The days following Earth's dramatic unveiling of its hidden fleet were a whirlwind of confusion, fear, and disbelief. People around the globe struggled to make sense of what they had witnessed. Governments convened emergency meetings, militaries went on high alert, and conspiracy theories spread faster than wildfire. Social media was flooded with videos, photos, and wild speculations. Some claimed the starships belonged to a secret government program, while others insisted they were evidence of divine intervention or even time travelers from the future. In the midst of this chaos, Dr. Elias Carter remained an enigma. While most scientists and experts appeared on news channels offering educated guesses about the mysterious armada, Carter stayed out of the spotlight. He spent his days locked away in his observatory, poring over data streams and monitoring communications between Earth's newly revealed ships and various global command centers. To anyone who didn't know better, it might have seemed like he was simply another curious observer trying to piece together the puzzle. But Carter knew better. He knew everything. Years ago, when Carter first discovered traces of extraterrestrial activity through faint radio signals, he faced a choice. Go public with his findings or keep them hidden. Public disclosure would have caused mass hysteria, leaving humanity vulnerable and unprepared for any potential alien threat. Instead, he chose secrecy, taking his discovery to the Arcane Council, a shadowy group of billionaires, tech moguls, and influential figures who operated behind the scenes of world politics. Together, they formed a clandestine alliance dedicated to protecting humanity from forces beyond their understanding. Using resources funneled through shell companies and classified military budgets, the Council funded groundbreaking research into quantum mechanics, artificial intelligence, and cloaking technology. Over decades, they constructed an entire fleet of starships capable of rivaling, or surpassing, the technological capabilities of known alien civilizations. These vessels were designed not only as weapons, but also as deterrents, meant to ensure that no hostile force dared approach Earth without facing catastrophic consequences. Carter himself played a pivotal role in the project. His expertise in astrophysics allowed him to develop algorithms that could detect subtle signs of alien presence long before their arrival. These systems acted as an early warning mechanism, scanning for anomalies in energy signatures, gravitational waves, and electromagnetic frequencies. When the scout ship entered Earth's vicinity, Carter's algorithms flagged it instantly, triggering the activation sequence for the hidden fleet. Within minutes, hundreds of starships emerged from their cloaked positions in the ionosphere, ready to defend humanity at a moment's notice. While Carter worked tirelessly behind the scenes, the rest of the world grappled with the implications of this revelation. In Washington, D.C., leaders from major nations gathered for an emergency summit. The United Nations headquarters buzzed with activity as diplomats argued over how to respond to the alien presence. Some advocated for immediate retaliation, fearing the worst-case scenario, an imminent invasion. Others pushed for diplomacy, hoping to establish peaceful communication before tensions escalated further. Amidst the political turmoil, ordinary citizens found themselves caught in a storm of conflicting emotions. For many, the sight of Earth's massive starships brought a mix of pride and terror. Pride because humanity now possessed the means to stand toe-to-toe with beings from another world. Terror because the existence of such advanced technology raised unsettling questions. Who had built these ships? How long had they been hiding in plain sight? And why hadn't the public been informed? Conspiracy theorists thrived during this period, spinning elaborate tales about shadow governments and secret societies controlling Earth's destiny. Some pointed fingers at the Arcane Council, though few outside elite circles had ever heard of them. Online forums lit up with accusations and counter-accusations, each theory more outlandish than the last. One popular narrative suggested that the starships were part of a globalist agenda to consolidate power under a single authoritarian regime. Another claimed that the aliens weren't real at all. It was all a hoax designed to distract people from economic collapse. Despite the rampant speculation, one undeniable truth began to emerge. Earth's newfound defenders were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Military analysts marveled at the design of the starships, noting features that defied conventional physics. Their hulls glowed faintly with an otherworldly light, powered by energy sources far superior to nuclear fusion. Weapons turrets bristled along their surfaces, capable of firing beams of pure plasma that could vaporize entire cities in seconds. Even more impressive were their shields, impenetrable barriers that shimmered like liquid metal, deflecting attacks effortlessly. As the initial shock wore off, attention turned toward the aliens themselves. What did they want? Were they friend or foe? Initial scans conducted by Earth's fleet revealed that the scout ship hovering near the planet was just one of many scattered throughout the solar system. Each vessel carried a crew of insectoid, creatures with multifaceted eyes, chitinous exoskeletons, and spindly limbs. Their language consisted of complex patterns of clicks and hums, making direct communication nearly impossible without specialized translation software. Back aboard the scout ship, Captain Zorvac and his crew faced mounting pressure from their superiors. Messages poured in from their homeworld, demanding answers about Earth's sudden display of power. Zorvac's earlier distress signal had triggered a chain reaction within the alien hierarchy, forcing leaders to reconsider their plans for Earth. What had once seemed like a routine reconnaissance mission had spiraled into a full-blown crisis. We underestimated them, Zorvac muttered bitterly as he paced the bridge of his ship. They've been playing us this whole time. His second-in-command, a wiry alien named Rek, nodded grimly. Command is furious. They're debating whether to launch a counterattack or retreat entirely. And what do you think we should do? Zorvac asked sharply, turning to face Rek. Rek hesitated, weighing his words carefully. Our options are limited. If we engage, we risk losing not just this fleet but potentially our entire species. But if we withdraw, we lose face. Other factions will see it as weakness. Zorvac clenched his mandibles, frustration boiling inside him. He hated feeling powerless, especially when so much was at stake. Yet deep down, he knew Rek was right. Engaging Earth's fleet would be suicide. Their weapons were unmatched, their defenses impenetrable. Even if they somehow managed to destroy a few ships, the retaliation would be swift and devastating. Reluctantly, Zorvac made his decision. Send a message to command, he ordered. Tell them we're pulling back, but emphasize that this isn't over. We'll regroup, reassess, and return when the time is right. As orders filtered down the chain of command, the scout ship began its slow retreat into deeper space. Its engines roared to life, propelling it away from Earth at incredible speeds. Other alien vessels followed suit, disappearing into the void like shadows retreating from the light. From Earth's perspective, the immediate threat had passed, for now. But the aftermath left lingering questions. Why had the aliens fled so suddenly? Was this truly the end of their interest in Earth or merely a temporary setback? And perhaps most importantly, what role would humanity play in the broader galaxy moving forward? For Dr. Carter, the answer was clear. Humanity couldn't afford to sit idly by, waiting for the next shoe to drop. Earth needed allies, powerful ones who shared their vision of peace and cooperation. Using encrypted channels, Carter reached out to several non-hostile alien species identified during previous encounters. Many of these races had suffered under oppressive regimes similar to the one currently retreating into space. By offering mutual protection and access to Earth's advanced technology, Carter hoped to forge alliances that would strengthen humanity's position on the galactic stage. Meanwhile, public sentiment on Earth continued to shift. While some celebrated the apparent victory over the invaders, others grew increasingly wary of the secrecy surrounding the Starship program. Protesters took to the streets, demanding transparency from their governments. Signs reading, "Who controls? Our skies?" And "Truth over fear" became common sights outside government buildings. Conspiracy theorists gained traction, fueling distrust among the populace. Caught between celebration and suspicion, humanity stood at a crossroads. The starships had saved them from an uncertain fate, but at what cost? Trust in authority eroded daily, replaced by paranoia and division. It was a delicate balancing act, one that required careful navigation if Earth hoped to maintain stability while venturing into uncharted territory. Dr. Carter understood the gravity of the situation. He knew that humanity's greatest challenge lay not in defeating enemies but in uniting itself. Without cohesion, even the most advanced technology would prove useless against internal strife. As he stared out the window of his observatory, watching the stars twinkle innocently above, Carter felt the weight of responsibility pressing heavily on his shoulders. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, both external and internal. But for the first time in history, humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as victims but as equals. Whether they rose to me, the days following the alien retreat were tense and uncertain. Humanity breathed a collective sigh of relief, but no one dared to call it victory just yet. Earth's starships remained on high alert, their glowing hulls casting eerie shadows over cities below as they patrolled the skies. Government scrambled to address public concerns while grappling with the reality that humanity was now part of a much larger universe, one filled with unknown dangers and opportunities. Dr. Elias Carter, though still operating from his secluded observatory, found himself at the center of global attention. News outlets clamored for interviews, conspiracy theorists dissected every detail of his past, and world leaders sought his advice on how to proceed. Yet Carter avoided the limelight, choosing instead to focus on ensuring Earth's newfound position among the stars was secure. He knew that peace wouldn't come easily. Trust had to be earned, not assumed. And so, he proposed an idea that would change everything: a diplomatic summit between humans and aliens. The suggestion came during a closed-door meeting with members of the Arcane Council and key political figures. "We've shown them we're capable of defending ourselves," Carter explained calmly, pacing the room as he spoke. "But strength alone won't guarantee lasting peace. If we want stability, we need dialogue. We need to understand their motives, and let them understand ours." At first, the idea was met with skepticism. Some argued that negotiating with extraterrestrials was too risky, fearing betrayal or manipulation. Others worried about exposing humanity's vulnerabilities. But Carter persisted, presenting a logical argument backed by data. "Their withdrawal proves they respect power," he said firmly. "By inviting them to talk, we demonstrate wisdom alongside strength. It's a chance to turn potential enemies into allies, or at least neutral observers." After hours of heated debate, the decision was made. A message was transmitted into deep space, carried on frequencies previously used by the retreating alien fleet. The communication was concise but clear. Earth sought peaceful negotiations and invited representatives to meet aboard a neutral vessel floating halfway between their ships and Earth's atmosphere. To everyone's surprise, the aliens accepted. Preparations for the summit began immediately. Engineers worked around the clock to construct a temporary space station designed specifically for the occasion. Dubbed Elysium Point, the structure featured state-of-the-art security systems, translation interfaces powered by AI, and comfortable accommodations for both human and alien delegates. Its sleek design reflected Earth's technological prowess, while maintaining an air of neutrality. As construction progressed, teams of linguists, diplomats, and scientists collaborated to prepare for the unprecedented encounter. Translating alien languages proved particularly challenging. The insectoid creatures communicated through rapid sequences of clicks, hums, and subtle body movements, nuances that required advanced algorithms to interpret accurately. Despite these hurdles, progress was steady, fueled by determination and curiosity. Finally, the day of the summit arrived. Cameras captured every moment as shuttles ferried delegates from Earth to Elysium Point. Among them was Dr. Carter, who had been appointed as humanity's lead representative due to his pivotal role in uncovering the alien presence. Accompanying him were emissaries from various nations, military advisors, and members of the Arcane Council. Each person carried the hopes and fears of billions, knowing that the outcome of this meeting could shape the future of humanity. On the other side, the alien delegation approached cautiously. Their massive mothership loomed ominously in the distance, dwarfing even Earth's largest starships. From it emerged a smaller craft carrying 6 representatives, each clad in shimmering metallic armor that reflected light in strange patterns. As they docked with Elysium Point, tension crackled in the air like static electricity. When the two groups finally met face to face, the scene was surreal. Humans stood tall, dressed in formal attire meant to convey authority and respect. Opposite them stood the insectoid aliens, their towering forms exuding an aura of ancient wisdom and calculated menace. Their multifaceted eyes scanned the room, taking in every detail, while their spindly limbs moved with deliberate precision. For a moment, silence reigned, as both sides sized each other up. Then, using the pre-programmed translation interface, the lead alien delegate spoke. His voice emerged as a synthesized blend of tones, carefully modulated to mimic human speech. "We are the Krylos Collective," he announced. "Our intent was never hostility. Your sudden display of force, unexpected." Carter stepped forward, his expression calm but firm. "And our intent is survival," he replied evenly. "You entered our territory without permission. We acted to protect ourselves." The exchange set the tone for the rest of the negotiations. Over the course of several days, both parties exchanged information, probing for weaknesses and searching for common ground. The Krylos revealed details about their civilization, a vast empire spanning multiple star systems, driven by expansionist policies and resource extraction. They admitted that Earth had initially appeared weak and exploitable, making it an ideal target. However, they insisted their retreat wasn't a sign of surrender, but rather a strategic withdrawal to reassess their options. In return, humanity shared glimpses of its history, culture, and technological achievements. While careful not to divulge classified secrets, they emphasized their resilience and adaptability. Through videos, holograms, and live demonstrations, they showcased Earth's diversity, from bustling megacities to untouched natural wonders. The goal was simple: to convince the Krylos that humanity was worth respecting, if not befriending. Tensions flared occasionally, especially when discussing territorial boundaries and resource rights. The Krylos pushed hard for access to Earth's mineral-rich asteroid belt, arguing that such resources were essential for their survival. Humanity countered by proposing joint ventures, suggesting that collaboration could benefit both sides. After lengthy debates, a compromise was reached. The Krylos agreed to limit their mining operations to uninhabited regions of the solar system, provided they shared technological advancements in return. By the end of the summit, a fragile treaty was signed. Both parties pledged non-aggression and promised to maintain open lines of communication moving forward. While far from perfect, the agreement marked a historic milestone, the first official contact between humans and extraterrestrial beings. Back on Earth, reactions to the treaty were mixed. Many celebrated the achievement, hailing it as proof of humanity's ability to rise above fear and embrace diplomacy. Others remained skeptical, accusing world leaders of naivety and warning of inevitable betrayal. Protests erupted in major cities, with crowds chanting slogans like "No deals with aliens" and "Protect our planet." Amidst the chaos, Dr. Carter watched silently from his observatory. He knew better than anyone that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Trust took time to build, and old wounds often festered beneath the surface. Still, he allowed himself a small measure of hope. For all its flaws, humanity had taken its first step onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors or victims, but as equals willing to negotiate. Yet even as celebrations unfolded across the globe, whispers of dissent began to spread. Not everyone trusted the Krylos or the Arcane Council. Leaked documents surfaced online, revealing snippets of classified conversations between council members and alien delegates. Conspiracy theorists seized upon these leaks, claiming that the treaty was nothing more than a ploy to consolidate power under a shadowy elite. Protesters gathered outside government buildings, demanding transparency and accountability. Meanwhile, reports trickled in about rogue factions within the Krylos Collective, refusing to honor the treaty. These splinter groups viewed the agreement as weakness, vowing to continue their aggressive expansion regardless of consequences. Military analysts warned that skirmishes along Earth's borders might become commonplace unless stricter enforcement measures were implemented. Despite these challenges, Carter refused to lose sight of the bigger picture. Humanity's greatest strength lay not in its weapons or technology, but in its capacity for cooperation and innovation. By forging alliances with oppressed species scattered throughout the galaxy, Earth could create a coalition dedicated to maintaining balance and promoting peace. It was a daunting task, but one he believed was worth pursuing. As he gazed out at the stars twinkling innocently above, Carter felt a renewed sense of purpose. The universe was vast and unpredictable, full of wonders and dangers alike. But for the first time in history, humanity wasn't alone. Together they had faced the unknown and emerged stronger for it. Little did he know, however, that the real test was yet to come. In the months following the historic summit aboard Elysium Point, Earth underwent a transformation unlike anything humanity had ever experienced. The treaty with the Krylos Collective brought both opportunities and challenges, reshaping nearly every aspect of life on the planet. For some, it was an era of hope and progress. For others, it was a time of fear and uncertainty. As humanity adjusted to its new role in the galaxy, tensions simmered beneath the surface, threatening to boil over at any moment. The most visible changes occurred in technology. Alien artifacts shared during negotiations unlocked secrets that revolutionized fields ranging from medicine to energy production. Fusion reactors powered by alien designs replaced outdated fossil fuels, providing clean and virtually limitless power. Advanced materials stronger than steel yet lighter than aluminum became standard in construction, allowing cities to grow taller and more efficient. Even healthcare saw unprecedented breakthroughs, nanotechnology capable of repairing damaged tissues at a cellular level began curing diseases once thought incurable. But these advancements came at a cost. Not everyone benefited equally from the sudden influx of alien tech. Wealthy nations raced ahead, adopting innovations faster than poorer countries could keep up. Inequality widened as corporations monopolized access to new resources, leaving marginalized communities struggling to adapt. Protests erupted worldwide, with demonstrators accusing governments of prioritizing profit over people. Who profits from the stars? Red banners held aloft by angry crowds outside corporate headquarters. Amidst this growing divide, conspiracy theories flourished. Leaked documents suggested that the Arcane Council had struck secret deals with the Krylos, granting them exclusive rights to certain technologies in exchange for political favors. Critics argued that the Council's influence had grown unchecked, turning them into puppet masters pulling strings behind the scenes. Public trust in authority plummeted, leading to widespread calls for transparency and reform. Dr. Elias Carter found himself caught in the crossfire. Once hailed as a hero, he now faced accusations of complicity in what many saw as a betrayal of humanity's best interests. Protesters gathered outside his observatory, chanting slogans like, "Carter betrays humanity," and demanding answers about his ties to the Arcane Council. Reporters camped out near his property, hoping to catch a glimpse of the man who had become both savior and scapegoat. Despite the scrutiny, Carter remained focused on the bigger picture. He understood that humanity's survival depended not just on technological superiority, but also on unity and cooperation. Without cohesion, even the most advanced tools would prove useless against internal strife. To address these concerns, he proposed creating an Interstellar Defense Alliance, IDA, a coalition of nations and species dedicated to maintaining peace across the galaxy. The idea gained traction quickly. Leaders recognized the need for a centralized body capable of responding swiftly to threats while promoting collaboration among diverse groups. Within weeks, the IDA was formed, headquartered aboard a massive orbital station named Unity Spire. Equipped with cutting-edge surveillance systems and staffed by representatives from Earth and allied alien races, Unity Spire served as a symbol of hope, a reminder that cooperation was possible, even among former adversaries. Yet despite these efforts, not everyone welcomed humanity's rise to prominence. Rogue factions within the Krylos Collective continued to resist the treaty, viewing it as a sign of weakness. These splinter groups operated in secrecy, launching hit-and-run attacks on remote colonies established jointly by humans and their newfound allies. Casualties mounted, fueling resentment on both sides. One such incident occurred near Jupiter's moon Europa, where a mining outpost co-managed by humans and another oppressed alien race, the aquatic Lumina, came under fire. Dozens of workers died before IDA forces arrived to repel the attackers. Footage of the attack spread rapidly across social media, reigniting fears of another invasion. Calls for retaliation grew louder, with some urging humanity to strike preemptively against all hostile factions. Caught between demands for vengeance and pleas for restraint, Dr. Carter faced a moral dilemma. Should humanity embrace its role as a galactic superpower, wielding its newfound strength to enforce peace even if it meant becoming oppressors themselves? Or should they retreat behind their shields, content to let the universe sort itself out? After days of deliberation, Carter chose a third path: diplomacy through strength. Under his guidance, Earth brokered alliances with other oppressed species, forming a coalition dedicated to maintaining balance in the galaxy. Together, they launched joint missions to patrol contested territories, ensuring compliance with the terms of the treaty. Slowly but surely, rogue factions were driven back, their influence waning as unity prevailed. Still, doubts lingered. Some wondered whether humanity was truly ready for the responsibilities that came with interstellar power. Others questioned whether peace could ever last in a universe rife with conflict. For every step forward, there seemed to be two steps back, a constant tug-of-war between optimism and cynicism. Back on Earth, life carried on amidst the turmoil. Cities expanded upward, powered by fusion reactors built using alien blueprints. Skyscrapers gleamed under sunlight reflected off solar panels embedded in their walls. Autonomous vehicles zipped silently along magnetic highways, transporting passengers to destinations miles away in mere minutes. Even rural areas saw improvements, with farms equipped with AI-driven machinery, harvesting crops more efficiently than ever before. Yet for all its glitz and glamour, the new world wasn't without its dark corners. Crime syndicates exploited loopholes in international law, smuggling alien tech onto black markets. Hackers targeted government databases, stealing sensitive information and selling it to the highest bidder. And then there were the zealots, groups convinced that humanity's alliance with aliens marked the beginning of the end. They preached doom and destruction, urging followers to prepare for Armageddon. Against this backdrop of progress and peril, ordinary citizens struggled to find their place. Some embraced the changes wholeheartedly, seeing them as proof of humanity's potential. Others clung to tradition, resisting anything that smacked of foreign influence. Families argued over dinner tables, friends debated passionately online, and communities fractured along ideological lines. Through it all, one truth remained undeniable: Earth was no longer alone. The stars above were no longer distant points of light but gateways to worlds teeming with life and danger. Humanity had taken its first steps onto the galactic stage, but whether those steps led to triumph or tragedy remained to be seen. As Dr. Carter watched the sun set behind the mountains surrounding his observatory, he felt a mix of pride and apprehension. Pride because humanity had accomplished something extraordinary, something worth celebrating. Apprehension because the road ahead promised to be fraught with challenges, each one testing their resolve and ingenuity. For better or worse, humanity had entered a new chapter in its history. The question now was whether they would rise to meet the demands of their new reality, or falter under the weight of their own ambitions. Only time would tell. And so, as night fell and the stars blinked into existence above, Carter turned back to his work. There were still mysteries to unravel, still battles to fight, not with weapons but with wisdom. The universe was vast and unpredictable, full of wonders and dangers alike. But for the first time in history, humanity wasn't facing it alone. Together, they had faced the unknown and emerged stronger for it. Little did anyone know, however, that the greatest challenge of all lay just around the corner, a crisis that would test humanity's courage, compassion, and capacity for forgiveness in ways no one could have anticipated. It had been a year since Earth unveiled its hidden fleet and brokered peace with the Krylos Collective. Humanity was still adjusting to its newfound place in the galaxy, navigating the delicate balance between progress and peril. While alliances flourished and technology advanced at an unprecedented pace, shadows of doubt lingered beneath the surface. Trust remained fragile, not just between humans and aliens, but also among humanity itself. And then, without warning, everything changed. The Crisis began on a remote mining colony located near Saturn's rings. Jointly operated by humans and their Lumina allies, a race of aquatic beings who thrived in low-gravity environments, the colony had become a symbol of cooperation. Workers from both species labored side by side, extracting rare minerals essential for powering fusion reactors and advanced weaponry. Life there wasn't easy, but it was peaceful. Or so everyone thought. One fateful morning, alarms blared throughout the facility as explosions rocked the outer perimeter. Chaos erupted instantly. Rogue Krylos fighters descended from above, their sleek ships cutting through the vacuum like knives. Armed drones swarmed the compound, targeting workers indiscriminately. Within minutes, dozens lay dead or injured, their screams echoing through communication channels back to Earth. News of the attack spread rapidly, igniting outrage across the globe. Social media lit up with hashtags like "Never Again" and "Protect Our Colonies." Governments convened emergency sessions, demanding immediate retaliation against the rogue factions responsible. Military leaders urged restraint, warning that hasty action could escalate into full-scale war. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens grappled with fear and anger, wondering if the sacrifices made during negotiations had been worth it. Dr. Elias Carter watched the unfolding drama from his observatory, his expression grim. He had known this day might come. Unity always came at a price, yet even he hadn't anticipated how quickly tensions would boil over. As calls for vengeance grew louder, he realized humanity stood at a crossroads. Their response to this tragedy would define not only their relationship with the Krylos, but also their identity as a species. In the days that followed, investigations revealed chilling details about the attack. Intelligence reports suggested that the rogue faction was led by a charismatic Krylos commander named Rekor, a former advisor to Captain Zorvak, who had grown disillusioned with the treaty. Rekor viewed cooperation with lesser species as weakness, advocating instead for domination and conquest. His followers, emboldened by propaganda portraying Earth as soft and exploitable, saw the colony massacre as a message: surrender or face annihilation. The situation forced humanity to confront uncomfortable truths. Could they afford to show mercy to those who refused to negotiate? Or did survival demand harsher measures? Debates raged in every corner of society, from political chambers to street protests. Some argued that humanity should strike back with overwhelming force, sending a clear message that aggression would not be tolerated. Others insisted on diplomacy, believing that violence would only perpetuate the cycle of hatred. Carter wrestled with these questions privately, seeking guidance. From history books and philosophical texts, he understood the allure of revenge. It promised catharsis, a sense of justice served. But he also knew its cost. Endless cycles of bloodshed, trust eroded beyond repair. Humanity couldn't afford such mistakes now, not when they were still finding their footing among the stars. Ultimately, Carter decided to act, not out of vengeance, but out of necessity. Under his leadership, the Interstellar Defense Alliance, IDA, launched Operation Dawnlight, a coordinated effort to neutralize Rekor's forces while minimizing collateral damage. The plan involved deploying stealth cruisers equipped with EMP, weapons designed to disable enemy vessels without causing loss of life. Ground teams composed of human soldiers and alien allies worked together to evacuate survivors from occupied territories, ensuring no innocent lives were lost. As Operation Dawnlight unfolded, images of bravery and sacrifice flooded news outlets worldwide. Viewers watched in awe as IDA pilots executed daring maneuvers to outmaneuver rogue fighters. They cheered as ground teams rescued stranded miners, shielding them from harm with improvised barriers crafted from alien materials. For the first time in months, humanity felt united, not by fear but by purpose. Yet victory came at a cost. Dozens of IDA personnel perished during the operation, their names etched into memorials erected on Unity Spire. Among them was Lieutenant Moichin, a young officer whose quick thinking saved hundreds of lives before she succumbed to injuries sustained in battle. Her final transmission, "For Earth, for all of us," became a rallying cry for those fighting to preserve peace. When Vrekor's flagship was finally cornered near Neptune, Carter himself joined the mission to negotiate his surrender. Flanked by representatives from the Lumina and other allied species, he boarded the vessel under a flag of truce. Inside, Vrekor awaited them, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming menacingly under dim red lights. Despite his size and imposing presence, there was something weary in his multifaceted eyes, as though even he doubted the righteousness of his cause. "You've lost," Carter said simply, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Your rebellion ends here." Vrekor clicked sharply, a sound translated by AI as bitter laughter. "And what will you do now?" he asked, his synthesized voice dripping with disdain. "Lock me away? Execute me? Prove once and for all that your precious ideals are nothing but lies?" Carter shook his head. "No, we'll offer you a choice. Surrender peacefully, and we'll grant you amnesty, but only if you agree to help rebuild what you've destroyed. If not—" He paused, letting the implication hang heavy in the air. "Then we'll ensure you never threaten another soul again." For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then slowly, Vrekor lowered his weapon. It wasn't submission. It was acknowledgement. Perhaps deep down he understood that the path of destruction led only to ruin. With Vrekor's surrender, the immediate threat subsided, but scars remained. Survivors of the colony attack struggled to rebuild their lives, haunted by memories of loved ones lost. Families mourned fallen heroes, their grief tempered by pride in knowing their sacrifices hadn't been in vain. Across the globe, monuments were erected to honor those who fought for peace, reminding future generations of the price paid for unity. Meanwhile, public sentiment shifted subtly. Where once skepticism and fear dominated discourse, hope began to take root. People started seeing themselves not as victims of circumstance but as architects of destiny. Conversations turned toward solutions rather than blame, collaboration rather than division. Even critics of the Arcane Council softened their tone, acknowledging that flawed systems could still yield positive outcomes. Dr. Carter emerged from the ordeal more determined than ever to guide humanity toward a brighter future. Though weary, from years of relentless work, he found renewed purpose in fostering connections, not just between humans and aliens, but within humanity itself. Through Unity Spire, he initiated programs aimed at bridging gaps between nations, cultures, and ideologies. Education campaigns promoted empathy and understanding, teaching people to see differences as strengths rather than weaknesses. Slowly but surely, the cracks in humanity's foundation began to heal. Cities expanded upward, powered by clean energy, harvested sustainably from uninhabited regions of the solar system. Skyscrapers glowed softly under starlight, their surfaces adorned with murals depicting scenes of cooperation and resilience. Streets buzzed with activity as citizens embraced new opportunities brought by interstellar partnerships. Yet Carter knew better than anyone that peace required constant vigilance. The universe was vast and unpredictable, full of wonders and dangers alike. Conflicts would arise again, some closer to home, others far beyond Earth's borders. But for the first time in history, humanity faced these challenges not alone, but alongside allies who shared their dreams of a better tomorrow. As he stood atop his observatory one evening, gazing at the stars twinkling innocently above, Carter allowed himself a rare smile. The road ahead would be difficult, fraught with trials that tested humanity's courage, compassion, and capacity for forgiveness. But together, they had proven capable of overcoming even the greatest odds. Below him, the world continued spinning, alive with possibility. Children played in parks illuminated by alien-inspired lanterns, their laughter echoing through the night. Artists painted murals celebrating unity, their colors vibrant against concrete walls. Scientists worked tirelessly in labs, pushing boundaries once thought insurmountable. Each person carried a spark of hope, fueling a collective flame that burned brighter with each passing day. The story didn't end here, at least not entirely. There would always be more chapters to write, more battles to fight, more bridges to build. But for now, humanity had earned a moment of quiet reflection, a chance to appreciate how far they'd come and dream of where they might go next. And so, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the mountainside, Dr. Elias Carter turned back to his telescope. Beyond the stars lay infinite possibilities, waiting to be explored. Together, humanity would reach for them, not as conquerors or victims, but as equals ready to shape their own destiny. Little did anyone know, however, that somewhere in the depth